I know that there are people who don't like me out of the gate, whether it's political.
You're not without controversy.
Not without controversy. Fair enough. Again, journalists who want to say that I'm not a journalist. Well, I want to see the license that says that they're a journalist.
So that from Sean Penn, 60 Minutes, Charlie Rose last night defending his interview, quote-unquote interview, with Mexican drug lord El Chapo while the brutal cartel leader was still on the run. Penn calling out his critics, asking to see their, quote, journalism license. Howard Kurtz, Fox News media analyst and the host of Media Buzz. How you doing?
Excellent.
Good day to you. You say he regrets the article for the wrong reasons. What are those reasons?
Sean Penn regrets the article because it didn't accomplish his ideological goal, which was to blame Americans for the drug problem and not El Chapo.
The consumer, as he talked about.
For whom he seems to have an awful lot of sympathy. And to listen to Sean Penn lecture about the sad state of journalism is kind of like listening to an arsonist blaming the fire department. You don't need a license to practice journalism. Anybody can write a 10,000-word self-indulgent piece for Rolling Stone, as Sean Penn did. What he doesn't seem to get, even at this late date, is that if you're going to play the role of journalist, if you're going to don the mantle of journalism, you have to follow certain ethical rules, like not giving your subject veto power over what you write.
Which is what apparently part of the deal was, right? That he admitted on 60 Minutes, hey, you know, I'm going to write the article with your approval. You know, once you approve it, I'll go back and write it that way. I watched all the 60 Minutes. I read the entire Rolling Stone pieces.
It's your job.
And I read it so you don't have to. He admits that he filed these questions. Some were used, some were not, and some were changed. That doesn't happen in journalism, Howie.
Right. I mean, this business about needing a license is just a smokescreen. You know, anybody can be a writer. And the idea that all of the reporters in the world are so jealous of Sean Penn for getting this scoop that that's why they're criticizing him, that utterly misses the mark. I mean, leaving aside the veto power, this piece was kind of embarrassing because here you have one of the most notorious drug traffickers in the world. He's meeting with a fugitive, and he writes things like, oh, he's a figure in Mexican folklore. He's a Robin Hood-like figure. And by the way, if he doesn't like the way the drug deal went down, he's not above one shot to the head. So this is a mass murderer.
I guess my point is, the question is that if you use some of the questions and don't use others and change some, give me an explanation as to why. I mean, that is what would be fair to the reader, or in this case, the viewer last night. More on his agenda from 60 Minutes here. Watch.
My article should not have made this much noise. El Chapo should not have been this popular a figure to read about.
Well, he was a figure that people read about and talked about before you ever went to Mexico.
Oh, I'm well aware of that.
What about those who say this is his ego? He likes being in the center of this. He's an adventurer. He thinks of himself as a writer in the tradition of Hunter Thompson with a kind of experiential quality to him. Do you accept any of that?
Do I accept that people feel that way?
Yeah.
I absolutely accept that they feel that way.
And are they right?
No, they're not right.
So he admits to having an agenda, and he believes the agenda failed, and admits that.
The agenda
that we, the consumer here in America, were the ones responsible for the drug war, because if there was no demand, there would be no supply.
Which is an interesting point to debate, except it got all wrapped up in what I can only describe as Sean Penn's admiration for El Chapo, the way he wrote about him, the way he kind of fawned over him. And ironically, Rolling Stone and Penn went to great lengths to protect him from the Mexican authorities. Remember, this guy busted out of jail for the second time. It ends up they were responsible indirectly for his capture.
But again, the details are he met with Chapo for 8 hours, I think, until 4 o'clock in the morning. He was told, come back 8 days later. And apparently Penn said he was at the airport, waited several hours, no one came to get him, so he went back to L.A. And that's when he started filing these questions by way of this Mexican actress to get to El Chapo.
If Sean Penn thought that this article was going to change the way we think about El Chapo, the way that we think about the drug problem, he was kind of delusional. He's very naive in some ways, even as he exudes this great disgust for those of us who try to practice journalism for a living.
Well, I want to see your license, Howie, and I need it by 5 o'clock today. Laminated.
I'll get my papers.
Howard Kurtz, thanks a lot.
Thanks.